Imagine this, a $100 million supertanker, longer than 3 football fields, silently surrendering in the middle of the Persian Gulf. No explosions, no missiles, no warships in pursuit, just silence and one phone call that changes everything. A massive floating steel giant, carrying millions of barrels of oil worth more than $100 million, suddenly gives up without firing a single shot. It sounds like a spy thriller, but this is real life, and it shows how power works in the modern world. The ship in question is the MT Achilles. This is not an ordinary cargo vessel. It is a floating fortress, moving stealthily through one of the most strategically important regions on Earth. The Persian Gulf is the lifeline of global energy, and controlling oil flow here means controlling the fate of economies. For the crew and the owners of the Achilles, this meant wealth, influence, and survival in a shadowy world where sanctions, secrecy, and deception are standard practice. To escape international scrutiny, the Achilles executed a daring ship-to-ship transfer. Late at night, under the cover of darkness, 2 massive tankers aligned side by side. Signal lights were extinguished. The ship's automatic identification system, AIS, its digital fingerprint, was switched off. On maritime maps, it vanished. The crew believed they were ghosts, invisible to the world. Millions of barrels of oil, a commodity under sanctions, quietly flowed into the Achilles. The oil was relabeled, transformed on paper into a legal regional blend. To the captain, this was brilliance, a perfect operation of camouflage and subterfuge. Why take such risks? Because sanctioned nations rely on oil money to sustain their economies and military power. The U.S., by imposing sanctions, aims to block that lifeline. One side wants the cash to flow, the other wants to cut it off. The Achilles was a primary artery in this high-stakes struggle, a steel giant carrying billions of dollars in energy and influence. But the captain of the Achilles made a fatal error. He was thinking in 20th century terms. He believed that turning off AIS and avoiding radar made him invisible. He didn't realize that Washington was not tracking the ship itself. They were watching something far more powerful, the money behind it. Thousands of miles away, inside the cold, sterile offices of the U.S. Department of Justice and the Office of Foreign Assets Control (OFAC), analysts weren't looking at maps of oceans. They were following digital traces of global financial activity. Every oil transaction, port fee, and insurance payment passed through the U.S. dollar system, creating an invisible but lethal network of vulnerability. The Achilles didn't belong to a hostile nation. It belonged to a Greek shipping conglomerate, a Western ally, which ironically made it even more exposed. Its dependency on U.S. dollars and access to Western banking channels became its Achilles heel. This is where modern warfare differs from the past. Targeting is no longer about guns, bombs, or steel hulls. It's about control and leverage. Instead of chasing the ship across the ocean, U.S. intelligence aimed directly at the softest and most vulnerable part, the owner's financial network. The Achilles, despite disappearing from radar screens, was never invisible. Satellites equipped with synthetic aperture radar, SAR, could see through darkness, clouds, and storms. They captured the massive metallic signature of the ship and combined it with AI analysis of ship behavior. 2 vessels aligned, oil levels changing, velocity dropping to 0. Within moments, the system confirmed, ship-to-ship transfer in progress. The next step did not involve military hardware. There was no roar of jets or smoke on the horizon. Instead, the power of psychology, law, and finance was deployed. The phone rang. Imagine the Greek tycoon sitting in his luxurious office in Athens, sipping coffee. On the other end was a representative of the U.S. government. The message was calm, precise, and brutal in its simplicity. We know what your ship is carrying. You have 2 options. Continue the voyage, and your entire conglomerate will be sanctioned. Bank accounts frozen, insurance canceled, ships blocked from ports worldwide. Or cooperate. Turn the ship around, preserve your business empire, and avoid financial collapse. There was no room for negotiation. For the tycoon, losing access to the Western financial system was more terrifying than any naval battle. The power of non-kinetic weapons, the ability to destroy an empire without firing a single bullet, became painfully clear. Within minutes, a decision was made. In the middle of the ocean, the Aquilas executed a slow, perfect 180-degree turn. Its new course, Houston, Texas. On intelligence screens, this was more than a physical maneuver. It was a strategic pivot, a visible sign of compliance and surrender. The once proud ghost ship had become a willing participant in its own interception. Weeks later, the Aquilas docked quietly in Houston. There were no SEAL teams rappelling from helicopters, no explosions. Federal agents boarded as though walking into an office, and under civil forfeiture laws, they seized over 2 million barrels of crude oil, valued at approximately $110 million. The operation was a perfect example of how modern power relies on intelligence, finance, and law rather than brute force. The outcome was staggering. The seller lost the oil. The buyer lost the money. The owner preserved his life and empire, but learned a permanent lesson in the reach of American financial control. Washington had demonstrated a principle that is often overlooked. In today's world, money is more powerful than missiles, and compliance can be enforced without ever firing a shot. Yet, this victory also sparked a new wave of countermeasures. Nations seeking to avoid similar interventions are building a shadow fleet. Hundreds of older vessels, purchased through shell companies and tax havens, avoiding U.S. insurance and the dollar system entirely. These ships use advanced electronic measures, including GNSS spoofing, to appear in one location while secretly operating in another. The battle between financial enforcement and maritime stealth has become a global cat-and-mouse game, more strategic and subtle than any kinetic conflict. The story of the Aquilas proves a crucial lesson for the modern era. While aircraft carriers dominate the surface, true control lies in the global financial system. Sanctions are not mere paper. They are invisible weapons capable of enforcing compliance across oceans and borders. In a world where capital moves instantly and every transaction leaves a trace, there is no truly safe harbor. Yet, the rise of alternative payment systems and non-dollar economies hints at a coming challenge. The U.S.'s most powerful weapon may soon face its match. The capture of the Aquilas was not just a tactical victory. It was a masterclass in strategy, precision, and modern power. It demonstrated that the most effective weapons today are information, law, and finance, and that domination does not require destruction. But it also revealed a fragile balance. The same invisible framework that controls global commerce can be evaded, forcing nations to innovate, adapt, and escalate in the shadows. In the end, the story of the Aquilas is more than a tale of oil, ships, and sanctions. It is a story of control, influence, and the quiet power of money. It is a reminder that in the modern world, battles are won not only on land, sea, or sky, but in boardrooms, data centers, and banking networks. And as nations build shadow fleets and alternative financial systems, one question looms. If money is the ultimate weapon, what happens when the battlefield becomes invisible? On the horizon, the Aquilas shifts course, not because of warships, missiles, or explosions, but because of one phone call. Imagine sitting in a luxurious office in Athens, sipping your morning coffee, when the phone rings. On the other end is a representative of the United States government. The voice is calm, measured, but every word carries the weight of inevitability. We know exactly what your ship is carrying. You have two options. Option 1. Continue the voyage, and your entire conglomerate will be crushed. Every bank account frozen, insurance policies canceled, fleets barred from docking at international ports. Financial ruin, total paralysis, your empire gone overnight. Option 2. Cooperate. Turn the ship around and preserve your business. That's it. No negotiation, no debate, no gray zone. A single call, a fateful ultimatum, and the game is over. This is the power of non-kinetic weapons, a force that does not destroy buildings, fleets, or cities, but targets the most vulnerable point, the human mind and the economic lifelines that sustain it. There is no pursuit across the oceans, no naval combat, only the cold logic of finance. For a businessman who relies on the Western financial system, losing access is worse than losing a fleet. It is death for an empire. Washington doesn't need guns, they only need leverage. And with this single call, they have it. Minutes later, across thousands of miles of open ocean, the captain of the Aquilas receives a radical order from the owner. Cancel the delivery. Turn the ship 180 degrees. New destination, Houston, Texas, USA. Imagine the confusion on deck. Once the master of gray zone operations, a captain now becomes a delivery driver for the law. On intelligence screens in Washington, the ship's new path traces a perfect arc across the map, a graph of strategic compliance, a symbol of surrender without a shot fired. Weeks later, the Aquilas docks quietly in Houston. There are no SEAL teams rappelling from helicopters, no explosions, no dramatic raids. Federal agents board the ship calmly, like office workers entering a building, and execute civil forfeiture. According to the Department of Justice, over 2 million barrels of crude oil, worth approximately $110 million, are seized. The operation delivers a massive financial blow with zero jet fuel burned, zero combat deployed. The seller loses the goods. The buyer loses the money. The owner keeps his life and learns a lesson he will never forget. For Washington, the operation is a demonstration of unrivaled efficiency. Using legal and financial tools alone, the U.S. adds $100 million to the Treasury without triggering a single military alert. But the victory comes with consequences. The capture of the Aquilas has sparked a new kind of arms race, not of missiles, but of maritime invisibility. Opposing powers are quietly constructing a shadow fleet. Hundreds of aging ships, bought through shell companies and tax havens, avoiding Western insurance, bypassing the U.S. dollar, and operating entirely in the gray zone. These countermeasures are evolving fast. Beyond switching off AIS, ships now use GNSS spoofing, faking their GPS location in one place while secretly operating somewhere else. Entirely new strategies are being deployed to evade financial and legal tracking. It has become a global cat-and-mouse game. The U.S. tightening enforcement, adversaries finding clever ways to slip through. The capture of the Aquilas was a tactical masterstroke, but also a warning. The adversary is learning, adapting, evolving. The story of the MT Aquilas reveals a new reality of modern power. The U.S. Navy may dominate the oceans with aircraft carriers, but the true control of global commerce lies with the U.S. Treasury and Department of Justice. Sanctions are not mere papers. They are invisible weapon systems, capable of enforcing compliance across oceans and continents. In a world where all capital is interconnected, there is no truly safe international water. Every transaction, every dollar, every port fee can be traced, monitored, and acted upon. Yet, even this powerful weapon has limits. Nations like Russia and China are quietly developing alternative payment systems to bypass U.S. financial control. A new invisible arms race is unfolding, not with kinetic weapons or missiles, but with currency and banking systems. The battlefield is global, silent, and relentless, and the consequences will redefine power in the 21st century. The Aquilas stands as proof that in the modern era, control over money can be far more decisive than control over steel or firepower. And as the world adapts, one question remains: is this invisible weapon truly invincible? Or will the next move in the global chess game slip past even the most sophisticated surveillance and sanctions?